Hello everyone, my name is Ferdinand and welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you like my content, please do consider subscribing, leaving a like on the video. I would really appreciate that as well. Also, leave any feedback or suggestions that you may have in the comment section below and we can have a discussion. Also, if you want me to cover certain topics, anything you guys find interesting and want me to cover, let me know and we can definitely look into that as well. So getting into today's video, if you haven't watched part 1 of my uploads from today, I had an upload about the fantastic failure of Google, which was Google Stadia. The one thing that Google tried to bring in to the gaming fold, for the gaming community. I don't know, maybe they had it in their mind that they could make some money off of it, and it was a spectacular fail on their behalf. So absolutely love it. I do want these big companies to learn that they can't just make like a plan that just put together at the end time and think about ripping players off and we would just let them get away with it. So while staying on that topic, do subscribe to my channel, watch my video on Google Stadia and what a disaster that was. Incredibly sad about the developers who have had to face being fired from the development studios from Stadia. Just an all-around sad situation with them. But staying on the topic of sad things, I have another huge failure story that I wanted to discuss in today's video, and since I'm on a roll, I wanted to bring this one into the fold as well. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about, well, I think you may have guessed it from the thumbnail. It's Anthem. The spectacular failure that BioWare brought into for the rest of the world to see, of how a game company can have this stupid developmental model of we're gonna release the game in parts in months, and in the coming months you're gonna see more and more content, and just see how that disaster has worked out. I mean, quite clearly there is no Anthem 2.0 that is gonna happen. Anthem itself was a disaster from the beginning. I mean, it was just completely doomed from the day of its inception. I mean, the E3 trailer, if I remember correctly at this point, it was a fantastic trailer, but of course, when you have a company like EA behind you, then you already know that they're probably going to try and take advantage of the situation, try and monetize that, any new IP that they have to no end. And quite obviously that proved to be correct here in this particular case. If we take a look at the developmental cycle of Anthem as well, I mean, it seems like most of the developers didn't even know what game they were making for the longest time. And yet again, this comes from Jason Schreier, the games journalist, who basically did an expose on this and told the world what a disaster this game was. And I remember when the whole thing came out, most of the developers found out what game they were making in that E3 demo. Like, imagine being a developer for a studio like BioWare and a publisher like EA, and looking at your own game that you would be expected to make a couple of months or a year or two down the road, and basically publish at that time to the audience, and you're looking at the demo of your own game and thinking, "Oh, that looks very interesting. I wonder what game that is." I mean, just how stupid as a company do you have to be to not have your own developers on the same page? Like, how inept is the leadership in that place that they would create a game, and yet again a concept which actually seemed pretty good on paper. When they showed the E3 demo, it looked beautiful, it looked interesting. I myself was apprehensive, but I was like, okay, even if the game is 60% or 70% of what they've shown in E3, which a lot of games when they're shown off in E3s, I mean, there's a lot of things that are cut out from the final product, and we understand that, obviously, right? So when they showed the demo, I was like, okay, if the game is 60% of this, I'm sure it will be fun. But my god, what a disaster of a launch did Anthem have. Like, that game was doomed from the day it was on the shelves in stores. And you know, just promise after promise afterwards that, oh no, we're improving, we're bringing content in. It was a looter shooter without actually good loot. Very few enemy types, no story or very little story, and the one big main thing that they kept on promising after release was this huge cataclysm event, which when that turned out to be a failure, I think that was the final nail in Anthem's proverbial coffin. And this is where we are, where live service games have proven time and time again that they are a uh, failed way of trying to make a game. Like, a live service model does not work. You need to capture the interest of your audience from day one. Either complete your game, release it, or don't release it at all. I mean, that's it. This pay to win model, this, oh, we're gonna release the game in full in 6 months but pay us 60 or 70 bucks right now, this thing will not work. I think these developers need to see the light in this regard, and I think some of them have. I mean, Anthem isn't the only failure in recent times. I mean, there is a very game that came out recently that also is suffering from the same thing. And if you're wondering what game I'm talking about, it's the Avengers game by Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics. I mean, mark my words, that game will have the exact fate as Anthem. And before them, it was the Battlefield game, which honestly, that game had other issues as well. I mean, I really don't know what, like, in what direction they went into. But the live service model, yet again, no content at launch or very little content at launch, and the promise of, you know, supporting the game for years on end, and then nothing to show for that promise. They don't support it, people lose interest. By the time they come out with new content, more than half of the player base has already moved on to something else and something new, right? Not everyone can replicate the Fortnite success. Not everyone can replicate the PUBG success. But, you know, all of these idiot companies are just trying to make a quick buck without actually giving developers time to develop a proper story, proper game. And now, because EA has had a success with the Jedi Fallen Order, I think they're starting to see the light in that regard, that okay, maybe we can do a proper traditional story-based game with a proper start, beginning, middle, and end. And, you know, if we publish a game like that, people will actually, you know, come back to us and say, okay, you know what, maybe these developers aren't as bad as we thought. But I'm sorry, I think gamers will still be very apprehensive, because, you know, not developing good games is one thing. I think microtransactions is a second big issue that these companies have. So, I mean, you know, but just my thoughts on Anthem. I knew when the game was more or less dead on arrival when it first launched, and then when all the promises started rolling in that the game is gonna be like Anthem 2.0, we just need some time, we're developing, we've heard your feedback, oh, the Hail Mary attempt at trying to save the game, I knew it. This game was doomed. EA was never gonna let that game have the light of day again. We were never gonna get an Anthem 2.0. I will be lucky if maybe a couple of years down the road if they make another game, but I sincerely doubt that they will. I mean, it was a cool concept, you know, flying mechs in this open world, which, god, if they would get rid of the loading screens in it and the loot actually being good, they had an interesting idea. It could have worked if they only didn't have this live service model attached to it. If they made a proper game with a proper story, beautiful graphics, good loot, if they had given the developers time to develop the game properly, maybe this could have worked. And this is the same fate, guys. Mark my words, this is the same fate we're gonna see with the Avengers game. I mean, I would be surprised if when they do launch Spider-Man, I think they said somewhere in March, I don't remember, March or April, somewhere, that too only on the PlayStation, which in all honesty, a part of me is like, why? Like, either introduce a character and put it in, you know, on all the platforms because other people paid the same amount of money, or don't put it in at all. That's it, just don't put it in. But it's gonna have the same fate as far as I'm concerned, so mark my words in that regard. Anyway guys, thank you so much for tuning in again. Please, if you like my content, consider subscribing, leave a like, share my videos, and if you have any comments or suggestions, leave them in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care guys, bye bye.